Hi. Oh. I'm Josh Seftel. I'm the director of the film. I wanted to start by thanking everyone for being here tonight on a Friday night. And I want to thank a bunch of people who are in the audience tonight who were an important part of this film. So I'm going to start with our producer, Connell Jones. Sitting over there. Our producer, James Costa. Executive producer, Roy Judelson. Executive producer, John Levin. Executive producer, Claire Aguilar. You've noticed we have a lot of executive producers. It's hard to make a film these days. Executive producer, Kevin Messick. My old friend, Vikram Akula, who's been an important part of supporting this film. And I want to also just express my gratitude to Netflix. This was a little independent film, and Netflix came along right before Telluride and decided that they wanted to lift it up and share it with the world. And we're so grateful that because of that, this film is, and the stories of these families are reaching so many people. So thank you for that. I also want to thank Steve Kerr for being here. He's also an executive producer on the film. And you'll hear from Steve afterwards. He and I are gonna have a conversation, so I hope you'll stick around for that. And I also just want to thank the families who participated in this film and shared their stories. We owe so much to them, and we've been on this journey together for a couple of years now. And I want to now introduce Frank Blackwell, who's one of the fathers in the film. He's the father of Dominic Blackwell. And he's going to say a few words, and then we're going to watch the film.
Good evening, everyone. I don't do this too much, so just bear with me here. So before we begin, I would like to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. Your presence means more to our family than we can put into words. It's been 6 years since we last got to speak to Dominic, and one of the very first things that you start to lose, something that people don't warn you about, is you start to forget the sound of their voice. You remember their face, you remember their laughter, but slowly you start to worry that you can't hear them anymore. Then another fear creeps in, and you start to wonder if they'll still be remembered, if they'll still be relevant, and if the world will move on without knowing who they really were. So that's why tonight in this film is important, and why it matters. This film, All the Empty Rooms, gives you a window into who Dominic was, not just how he died, but how he lived. It shows you how loud he was, and how funny he was, and how crazy he was, and how full of life he was. It shows you just how crazy of a kid he could be, and could have been, in the best possible way. A lot of people have asked us throughout this process, why is this important, or what was Dominic really like? And this is why. Because this film lets you see him the way we saw him. It gives you an inside view of who he was, and in doing so, it honors not just Dominic, but all of the lives that were lost from these children. And if Dominic were here tonight, he would be so happy and bragging to all of his friends and family and saying, look at all these people that are here for me, Dominic, the Netflix star. Right. So again, thank you for being here, and thank you from our family, and thank you for remembering our son, and thank you for helping to keep his voice alive. And I think we'll start watching the film.
Whew. First of all, thank you for coming tonight, everybody, and and watching the film with us. I'm Steve Kerr. As you heard earlier, I'm one of the 27 executive producers on the film, which is a fancy way of saying I didn't really have anything to do with the production, but I was asked to support the film about a year ago. And as soon as I read about the project, it was a no-brainer. Josh, just an incredible film. I think one more round of applause. I'm so proud to be a part of this. This is a second event like this that we have done. We did one in San Francisco about 6 weeks ago. And I'm so moved by the film, and as we all are. Can you tell me your impetus? How did you get involved in the process in the first place?
Sure, thank you, Steve. I first just want to say that I admire your advocacy in this issue. I saw you speak out after the Uvalde shooting, and I knew that I wanted you to be a part of this, and we're so grateful you are. This project came about when Steve Hartman approached me. He called me sort of out of the blue. We'd worked together many years ago. I was actually his producer at CBS in the 90s, and for a couple years when he was just starting out, and so was I. Anyway, we hadn't spoken for 25 years, and apparently 3 years ago he saw me on the Oscars because we had another film that had been nominated, and he called me and he started to tell me about this project and the photographs and the letters. He wrote a letter to every single family who lost a child since Sandy Hook, and he explained to me what he was doing, and he also explained that he was a little bit lost and he didn't know what he should do with the project or what it was. And he said, do you think it might be a documentary? And I immediately said, yeah. At the time, my daughters were 2 and 6, and the idea of trying to reframe this issue away from the political, which seems to be getting us nowhere, was very interesting to me. And I just said, let's do this. And he said, well, if we do it, I don't want to be in the film. And I immediately said, no, you don't understand. You have to be in the film. You're the person that's going to take us to these places.
He was perfect because he didn't want to be in the film. You could see his humility. I was so moved when he took his shoes off before he walked into the bedroom. It's kind of the ultimate sign of respect. I thought between Steve and Lou, the compassion and the empathy you could see in their eyes was so powerful. So I can imagine, there's no way he could have not been in the film.
Yeah, I've said that when the good news guy has some bad news for you, you probably should listen.
Yeah. Tell me about Lou, because obviously the scene with his daughter and the time-lapse images of him, and obviously the juxtaposition of those two constantly thinking about their own children as they were visiting these homes. Lou seems equally as empathetic and as kind of a soul as Steve is. So where did you meet Lou?
Yeah, well, Steve actually used to live in Lou's basement when he was starting out in his career. So they were old friends. And I think when Steve started this project, he just thought Lou is the perfect person to come along and do this with me because he has so much empathy. And I was very drawn to, as a father of 2 girls, I was, I think, very drawn to the fatherhood aspect of this story. And so I really focused in on those things, like the painting of the nails or the daily photo and things like that. That really resonated with me as a dad. So yeah.
I think what probably struck all of us, I know it struck me, was the bedroom. You know, I have 2 sons and a daughter. The bedroom could have been our kids, right? You see the trinkets, the posters, the one shot of all the trophies, everything that you see as you're watching the film. It's like it's purposeful. It's like, this could be my child, right? And so, as you were making the film, was that sort of a conscious thought, or did it sort of come about that people need to understand this? This could be anybody, and so you need to pay attention. You can't turn away. Was that part of the idea, or did that just sort of unfold?
Honestly, I think when we started the project, our goal was to really try to capture who each kid was. Like what Frank Blackwell was saying in the beginning, we felt a duty to try to capture who each child was so that the world would know their story. That was our focus. When the film came together and when people started talking about it, we realized there was something very universal about these rooms. And I've heard people say, you read a headline, you read a statistic, and it's, oh, that's someone else's kid. But when you go in the room and you see the objects and you feel the absence, you say that's my kid.
You feel that throughout the film, and then the way you did it with involving Steve and Lou's children was just beautifully done. At this point in the process, tell me how this has all unfolded since you finished the film and going through the various film festivals. Has anything surprised you? The deal with Netflix, how it all played out. Give us a landscape of where you are right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, we started this film with credit cards, and then gradually people came on board. You heard all the executive producers and producers, and we started to build momentum, and then we didn't know what was going to happen, but Netflix saw it early, and they saw a cut that I think we showed you, which was a little sizzle, like a 7-minute clip, and then they said, show us the next clip, show us the next cut, show us the next. And I waited like I think a year and a half because I didn't want to take. I thought I'd have one chance to show them what this could be, and so I waited and we worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, and we, the film is 34 minutes long. And at one point, we just realized, like, we just took 6 minutes of dialogue, of talking out of the film, but we still left it at 34 minutes because we just found that the less talk there was, the more space it left for people to experience the rooms and to feel the feelings that they had. And then we finally showed it to Netflix, and they thankfully wanted it, and that was the beginning of something really great because the film has been seen by millions of people, and it will continue to be. And now that we're nominated, it's the numbers are going up and up and up. So it's been wonderful, and we've seen changes. We've seen everything from Brian Muehlberger and Cindy Muehlberger, who are Gracie's parents at the end of the film. They, for a long time, wanted to move out of their house. They wanted to move out of Saugus, out of Santa Clarita, because they wanted to leave those memories behind. But they couldn't bring themselves to pack up the room. And after Steve Hartman gave them that photo book, and after they saw the film was out and on Netflix, they said, we're ready, and they packed up the room. And they moved to another state. So that was really an amazing thing. And then another story that really struck me was that we have all the photographs, and they're traveling around the country now. So we have big photo exhibits of loose photos. And we had the first show we had, there was a guy who was installing the photos and hanging them on the walls. And he was a really conservative guy. And we were told that he wore a t-shirt that says, "Guns aren't stupid, people are." So this is the guy who's hanging the photos, and apparently halfway through the day, he was weeping. And he went up to his boss and he said, I need to go home. And the next day he came back in and he went up to his boss and he said, "I just want to tell you that I'm never going to wear that t-shirt again."
Wow.
And we've heard stories like that from people who've had a change of heart from watching and seeing the photos and hearing the stories of the kids.
I thought it was beautiful at the end of the film when Steve said, "I just wish everyone could stand in one room and we would have a different America." And I thought that was incredibly important because you mentioned this beginning of this conversation. Everything is so wrapped up in political nonsense. And of course, what this really is it's an issue of public health, public safety, humanity. Gun violence is the number one killer of children now in America, and most of you probably know that by now. And that's astonishing and unforgivable all at once. But the human nature part of this, as Steve talked about, is to go numb and to turn away and to look away. So I think the film has the ability to break through the political conversation and reach people's hearts, which may be the only way we can actually have some progress in this area. But tell me your thoughts on how to reconcile all of that.
Well, I think we all know this is a preventable problem, and that's what's so disturbing about it. And we made a film that never says the word gun in it. And that was intentional because we want people to watch.
Or Democrat or Republican or liberal or conservative. None of those words were even mentioned.
We wanted a film that no matter what your opinion is, that you would sit through and not have a reason to turn it off.
Right.
And that's what we're hoping for, is that everyone's going to watch it. And we hope that you'll spread the word and tell people and post about it and ask your friends to watch it.
Having said that, 6 weeks ago we were together in San Francisco. You told me that there was a chance that Congress was going to have a screening. Did that happen, or is it going to happen? Or
we had one screening, and we're going to have another one, I believe, this month, sometime in February. We're hoping to get a bipartisan group of members of Congress to sit and watch the film and have a conversation. And if it means doing that 3 times, 10 times, 100 times, we'll be there. So
that's amazing. I sometimes receive emails from people when I speak out on this issue, people on the other side, and they always, not always, but sometimes say, "You can't have my guns, don't take away my guns." And my response is always the same: I don't want your guns. The Second Amendment is the Second Amendment. But we can prevent and limit so much unnecessary gun violence through common sense safety measures and laws. And I think that's the ultimate goal, as you're saying. This is preventable. And we know that. The states that have the strongest gun safety laws have by far the fewest deaths per capita, including California right here. And so we know that there's so much we can do. But I think what's so crucial about the film is that nothing can convince a person about any law or any political issue like this film, like the feeling of what the parents are going through, what Steve and Lou are feeling. It's so beautifully done that I really hope it breaks through some of the political quagmire that we're facing. So congratulations on an amazing job.
Thank you very much.
We have some time for audience questions. If anybody has a question out there, please raise your hand. We've got a mic that's going to go around.
First of all, congratulations, unbelievable work. How many rooms did you ultimately film, and then did you narrow it down to those featured in the film? And thank you for the work, and thank you to Netflix for carrying this on the platform, really important.
Well, Steve wrote to, I don't know how many, over 100 families, and over that time, 8 families agreed to be in the film, or to participate in the project. We came along after they had photographed 4, so we did the final 4, and we included all of them. There was no way we were gonna go to someone's house and take pictures and film and not use it in the film. So we included everybody.
I just wanted to say thank you for your work and to honor how much it takes for you as a filmmaker and your team to put something forward that helps us to see and to lovingly see. It takes a lot, and I see your humanity in every frame, and it mirrors back to me, and I'm sure to all of us. And I'm just really, really grateful for the work, because there is work to see that clear-mindedly and to put it with such openness and grace, and to connect the feeling of love to grief invites us to act more lovingly, and I feel that, so thank you.
People have said to me, like, I can't watch this film, I'm afraid to watch this film, so I'm gonna ask them to speak to you to get them to watch.
So I know you said that you purposely made this film to not be political, although we know this is a very political issue. Oh.
I know you didn't purposely make this film to be political, but it is a political issue. When you do go to other screenings or show it in DC, does politics come into the conversation? Because I grew up in Alaska, which has a terrible gun violence problem, and people just do kind of skirt around. They're like, I don't want to take away anyone's guns, but I don't, and then they just never have a conversation about it. So does that come up, I would hope, in the screenings? The politics part of it, how people can become more involved in, the common sense gun laws that we're talking about, like when you screen it in DC?
Well, at a lot of the screenings, especially the screenings where we have younger people in their teens or 20s, almost everyone says, what can I do? What can I do? And we have, our website has resources and ways that they can help. And we're working with just about every gun violence prevention group, including Brady, which Steve is involved with. And we want to channel people to those groups. We've also had screenings where, we've had screenings in people's homes where 10 people gather, and often wealthy people. And they, at the end, write massive checks to these organizations. And so we've been doing fundraisers, raising sometimes 7 figures in a small room. And it's been, the film is a tool. We want people to use it, to channel empathy into change, and that's how we're using it.
Can you talk about how the families portrayed responded to the movie?
How did the families respond to the movie? Well, I think you heard Frank speak a little bit about that at the beginning. One thing that was hard for us initially about this film was we didn't want to impose ourselves on the families. We didn't want to go into their homes and ask them to talk about their kids and potentially, feel like we're invading their privacy or anything like that. We were so concerned about that. But one thing we realized really quickly was that we shared the same goal as the family. They just wanted to tell the story of their children and make sure their kids aren't forgotten. And that made it so much easier for us. And when we finished the first cut of the film, we actually showed it to each family over Zoom, and we watched it with them, and then we discussed it. And each family said, "Yep, you got it. You got my kid right." And we knew, okay, we did what we needed to do. And when I talked to like Javier Casares, who's Jackie's dad in the film, he said to us, my job in life is to make sure that Jackie's not forgotten. And when the film, we were showing the film in Chicago, and the Casareses were there, and after they saw the film, they said, well, we know Jackie will never be forgotten now because of the film. So that's been the reaction in general, but yeah, I invite you to speak with Frank as well afterwards and hear his thoughts.
Any other questions?
The families are so sad and so devoted to their children. Did you ever have any anger that you had to edit out? Did the families ever express any anger that had to be edited out?
Honestly, and Steve Hartman always talks about this, like we laughed a lot with the families. We watched videos and heard stories, and just like listening to Frank talk at the beginning of this, everyone was laughing because they were falling in love with Dominic and who he was. So there was a lot of joy in the rooms and in the houses when we were there. And we've traveled a lot with the families over the last few months, and just have a lot of fun and talking and joking around and talking about the kids. And so there wasn't a lot of anger. I'm sure there is. It's someone said to me after seeing this film, they said, I've seen a lot of films on this topic, and this is the first time I've seen a film on gun violence that is not an angry film. And at first I was like, kind of didn't know what to think. I was almost insulted, but then I realized it was a compliment. And this person said, I think that's a very good thing for this film.
I agree. Back there, yeah. Yeah, you can wait for the microphone. Perfect.
I know this is a final project, but it felt like it was the start of Steve's project, right? Like he was starting to tell the stories this way. Is there are there next steps in mind? Like, is there like a sequel or something? Because I wanted to learn more about the families.
Yeah, so Steve did a report on CBS. It was on CBS Sunday Morning, and they aired it in November of last year. And then after the shooting in Minnesota, the school shooting in Minnesota, they re-aired it. and I believe they're going to re-air it again in this month. So it sadly is evergreen, and just I think needs to just they should probably show it every week, but sadly.
Was that the project that Steve mentioned in the beginning of the movie? He said he was working on is that telecast?
Yeah,
That was what
it's-
he was referring
I
to?
think it's like a 7-minute report that he did, that he was making, and we were following him in the film. So he did make a report that he's about to deliver at the end of the film. We don't show it, but you know the story by then.
Yeah.
But it's
Right.
it's a summary of each kid and their lives,
Yeah.
and it, I suggest it's on YouTube. You can watch it there. It's worth watching. It's quite good.
Yes.
Is there any final recommendations you can make to all of us of how we can make a difference? You mentioned visiting the website.
Yeah, the question was, is there any recommendation about what we can do? And I think it's a great question, and because I think it's kind of the point of the film is to wake us all up and to put us into action. But what does that mean? One of the reasons I work with Brady is because they are really a nonpartisan group. They're named after Jim Brady, who was a Republican, who obviously, for those of you who are old enough to remember, he was the press secretary who was shot in the Reagan assassination attempt. And so named after a Republican, very much bipartisan. They are really working hard on the cultural piece of this. So it's not just trying to pass legislation, but it is trying to change the culture, trying to change the way people think. So one of Brady's current campaigns is called End Family Fire, and it's a campaign for safe storage. Right now, I think there's 13 states in the country that have safe storage laws, and Brady wants it to be in 50 states. So they have billboards, they have campaigns going on all over the country, and what we found is that well over 50% of gun owners, when they see the campaign, they follow through and they lock up their guns. The only reason, so you can just do the math, and you know that lives have already been saved by this campaign. But the campaign also includes Hollywood connections. They're trying to make movies where the hero, the policeman who goes home, doesn't just stick the gun on the side of his bed, because that's not even legal for a policeman to do. But in the movies, that's kind of what they always do. But Brady has worked with some of the Hollywood people on showing the law enforcement people lock up and store their guns, similar to the seatbelt campaign in the 70s, right? And so it really needs to be a cultural movement, but we have to make that movement. And so you can, one thing for sure, tell everybody to watch this film. You can donate time or money to one of these gun violence prevention groups, but you can have these conversations too with family, with friends, and just making it an issue and making it a topic instead of shying away from it, I think is the best thing that all of us can do.
Hi. First of all, I just wanted to thank you for showing us this wonderful film. My question to you is, how has working with these families and being in contact with them helped shape your understanding and perspective of life? How has it changed your life?
It's a great question, and no one's asked me that yet. But I do have an answer. I'm so inspired by these families, by their strength, by their ability to, every single one of these families is working to create change now. Every single one of these families has a foundation that is specifically trying to create change. And to me, it's very inspiring to see people turn tragedy into something else. And so I think about what would I do and how would I react, and I'm just really impressed by all four families, and I'm so glad to know them and love having them in my life. And I also love going home to see my kids. And this journey of the last 5 months has been a lot of time away from my kids. And what we've done is sort of designed, my wife and I have designed it so that my kids come out and have been to a lot of the festivals and a lot of the screenings, and so we can be together, especially on this film. And it's just, to me, I think this film is about loss, but it's also about gratitude and, being thankful for what we all have. That's what it's done for me, is in grown the gratitude that I have for what I have.
Well said. Josh, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.